Good morning, beautiful people. I haven't done a little video for a while, but last night I had a dream, and it feels like a dream with a message that could be for many others. So I'm going to share it. So essentially, it was very simple, this dream. I was in this place inside a building, like a swimming pool, but there were multiple swimming pools, and there was some just for like baby pools, and there was some like for doing lengths, and they all had numbers on them, and there was loads of them. Like, there was nowhere, this doesn't kind of exist anywhere I've been, but there were all these swimming pools, and it was quite a dark building, and we were taking turns to go from one side of the room to the final destination at the end, where there was this kind of misshaped swimming pool. And I was kind of like on the third one to the last, and I was having conversations with people that were just standing on the poolside, and they were saying, oh, there's 71 swimming pools in this building, but the last one's really deep. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I was just jumping in the pools. And then it came to the last one, and I saw the number 71 on this final swimming pool, which was a lot narrower and sort of a very hectagonal sort of shape. And I was looking into the water, and it was very deep at the bottom. And then the person that was sitting on the edge of the swimming pool said, yeah, number 71 is really deep. It's very deep. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can jump. And somebody had just jumped in, and then I saw them swimming up and getting back on the sideline. So I spent a few moments like considering how I was going to jump, and I was making sure I was all lined up really straight, because I was going to jump straight down. And so there was a few moments of just pausing before I jumped, making sure I was really straight. And then I jumped in the water, and I was going down and down and down and down. And then I could see bubbles like going up, and it was getting darker and darker. And I was thinking, I'm going to hit the bottom in a minute, then I can bend my knees and push myself back up, because this is deeper than I thought. And then suddenly this panic was coming, because there was this pull from the bottom of the pool, like a current that was literally sucking me down to the bottom. And it was getting darker and darker and darker. And I was thinking, I'm out of breath, and I don't have the amount of breath to get back up to the surface. And in my head, I started panicking, and it was just kind of like washing over me, like, oh, I'm in trouble here. I'm out of breath, and I haven't got enough breath to get back up to the surface, and I don't have anything to push me back, because there's no bottom for me to like push myself. So I started to try and like resist the current that was pulling me down, but I realized it was completely futile. It was pulling me down into this depth. And so I just surrendered to it. It was a very strange feeling. And I was like, oh, well, that's that then. I just surrendered to these depths. That's it. And I knew my breath had gone. And the moment I surrendered, I realized I could breathe underwater. And this tranquil peace came over me. And then I looked to the left, and under this swimming pool to the side was this tunnel. And so I then swam to the left. It was like an underground sort of tunnel, and I managed to pull myself out onto the sidelines, but I was still underwater, and I was wondering how I could breathe, but I could. And I found myself in this airlocked room with all these people that I'd never seen before, and they weren't of this world. They looked kind of like aliens, I don't know. But I was standing there, and then I was like looking, and they were all eyes on me, looking at me. And I was like, oh, I'm in this totally different place. I thought I had to go back up to the surface and breathe, but it seems I've been called somewhere foreign, somewhere unfamiliar. And as I opened my mouth to speak and to ask a question, I was shocked at what was coming out my mouth, because I wasn't speaking English. I was like, and I was like, I'm speaking a different language. But they understood me, and I understood what I was saying, but I was also aware that I wasn't speaking my native tongue. I was speaking a different language. And then I heard this voice from within say, you're going to be speaking the language of your soul. This is the language of your soul. and you thought you were just jumping into something, but we've called you to these depths because this is where you belong and this is what you're supposed to be doing. So I woke up, and because it's a profound dream, I know sometimes like if you just have a silly dream, it means nothing, but this meant something. And the number 71 was really like prominent, like that's the deep pool. So I looked up the angel meaning of the number 71. And the number 71 means be prepared for profound life-changing events. That may seem a little alarming, but they're for your good. And so even the number of this deep swimming pool had a reason behind it. And my point to you lot is, if you're following your soul path, the language of your soul, if you're tapped in, you're going to notice these little signs and synchronicities that are calling you. And I don't know about you, but there's moments that I've been going through. It's like this pull, the pull of the water that I felt pulling me down. That's exactly the feeling of the pull that I'm having in my life at the moment. I'm being pulled into places that feel very unfamiliar and very, dare I say, scary, but also this inner knowing that it's my soul that's calling me to those places. And so therefore, I just have to surrender to it. Because in that moment, I thought I had to go back up to the surface, but that's not where spirit intended for me to be going. There was a whole other world waiting for me underwater with different language, different people, different environment. Yet when I got there, it all made sense. But the journey to there, I had resistance to it because I was relying on my breath, which is like relying on yourself, and in my own strength. And also I looked up in the Bible, there's Psalm 71, I believe, which was the same number, about relying on God's strength, like source, love, the universe, however you want to call it. Sometimes we're put in situations where we're not able to rely on us because we can't see what's coming. We can sense it. We can have prophecies, we can have ideas where you're being called. But in these moments, it's like, I don't belong there, and I haven't got to the next destination, and you're kind of in this in-between space. And it's in those moments where you might be tempted to panic. But my message to you today is surrender. Because maybe you can breathe underwater and you didn't realize. Maybe the places you're going, you've already got all the tools for you to do everything that your soul is calling you to. And there are some of you that know what I'm talking about. Something deep is calling to your deep, to your depths. And yes, it might feel scary, but you know that there's no way out. There's no way of avoiding this. Unless you can resist, but then it's just like you're going to struggle. Surrender to it. Surrender to the call. Surrender to the depths. And let your soul guide you home. Love you today.